What a great affirmation that is. Thank you. Thank you. And it's now my pleasure to introduce someone we've all come to know and love. She's been working with us for, I don't know, must be 6 months or so. And Rev Cath DePalma has been gracing the presence of us, doing play shops with us, speaking, and today she's got a 3-part trifecta message for us. And so buckle up your seatbelts. Here we go, Rev Cath DePalma.
Thank you. It's really great to be with you, everyone, today. And you have been busy since I've been here last. I love your covenant prayer calling in your new minister. It's just beautiful. Great job. And thank you, Reverend Christine, for making that happen. There are 2 things that I would like to, before we get started on my threefold, that I would like to announce, and that is I would like to officially present you with a new minister to the practitioner corps. She comes highly recommended, and I'd like her to stand, Sabrina Johnson. Let's give her a warm welcome. We're happy to have you, and you are going to be you are a part of a magnificent group. They are truly amazing individuals. So thank you and welcome. And I would like to also recognize not everybody was able to come to the Conscious Loving workshops there was 2 of them. There was a part 1 and a part 2 in June. I know not everyone was able to be there, but there were some people there that were brave enough and courageous enough to delve into a greater love. And I would like them to stand and be recognized today. And that includes Bob. I know he was there. And Nancy and Sandy. Yeah. And so Sandy and Tom. So I'd like to give them a hand and just keep an eye on them because they're mentoring a greater love. And so we're happy to have them go through that. So my first story today is recently I had this experience with my oldest son, Nick. And Nick had a problem a big problem, I will say. I won't get into it because that's kind of his business. But this problem continued to snowball as they do. You know, have you ever took the wrong fork in the road? And, you know, you think that things are going to change and you keep on going and you think it's going to get better, and it doesn't. Or maybe it even gets worse. Well, it was this kind of a thing with him. It would have been like that. And he was, you know, running from this problem, throwing money at it, trying to get out of it, not taking responsibility for it. And he wasn't really ready at the time for me to say anything, so I just let him do his thing. And because especially parents, you know, you have to be careful. I do say some things when I'm not supposed to, so I'm trying to get better at that. But it was a serious burden that he was carrying, and he just couldn't get rid of it. And one day at his lowest point, that's when Mother Practitioner Minister zoomed in, and I said, okay, it's time to face this and take this on, you know, take this head on, and let's do it together. And he agreed, and he was ready. And so he was ready to deal with the consequences, no matter what they were, so he was in a good place. A year ago from that time, he had gone before the judge and was given a whole big list of things to do, and now it was almost a year later, days before going to court, and he still had he had done a lot of things, did a really great job, but he had a few loose ends, you know, that weren't tied, that needed to be tied up. So I suggested that we do a mind treatment together. So he called me when he got to a good place, and he found a perfect place, really, a baseball diamond. And so I said, oh, good, and he had the park to himself. It was early in the morning, and I started by having him take a big, deep breath. And I was listening to him, and he said, I'm almost having trouble taking that first breath. And so as he did take that first big, deep breath, releasing that pressure and stress that he had been carrying for so long, he was able then to resume with some more breaths. And what I didn't know was when I was saying the treatment, he had walked from home base up to the pitcher's mound, and then he walked back to home base and walked around to each of the, first base, second base, third base, and then back home. And he told me that after I was finished, and he even sent me pictures of what he had done. And when I saw the pictures, the field had been meticulously groomed before he walked on it, and it was just his footsteps. It was a clean slate just for him. And the final picture that he sent me was him standing over home base with the words, I am that I am. I am that I am. I am the great I am as me. He remembered who he was, and he was ready. And so before we said goodbye, he said, God must be wearing cowboy boots. And I said, yes, God wears cowboy boots too. So everything turned out beautifully. It was a little bit like the field of dreams, build it and they will come. And that is what we must do, is, with everything that we face, remember that God, source, life, lives at the heart of us. We are God. We are one. That's been the message all morning so far. Rumi, the Persian poet, wrote, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So love was always there. Nick just had to get rid of the barriers. We just have to get rid of the barriers, and love is there for us as well. So let's take a big deep breath. Maybe there's something that you're holding on to. Maybe there's something big burden that you've been carrying. Just take another breath if you can. Doesn't that feel good to just kind of take a breath and release some of that? Release the pressure. We take these shallow breaths, and I do this myself as if we can only take in just a little bit of life. Breath is life. It's the life force. And it's important that we breathe. It's important that we relax into the moment so that we can remember who we are and listen for the guidance that we need and the solutions that are there. So, my second story is about two good friends of mine, colleagues, they're ministers, and we started a trio. There's something with this trio thing this morning. Well, the triune nature of God, that's there. It started as a little trio, because a prayer trio, because our teacher was going through a serious health challenge, and we loved him dearly. He was like a father to many of us. And so we started treating for him to support him, because we loved him so much, and we wanted to know that the highest and best was happening for him. And this trio evolved to be a conference call every Saturday night so that we could talk together. And this lasted, for years after his transition. And it helped us prepare for our Sundays. It gave us a little place to vent, talk to somebody who understood, and then we supported each other with our personal lives as well. And we always ended by taking turns doing a treatment for each other and for our communities. It was just really a beautiful thing. And one night, Sam, who I'm still actually a treatment partner with after all these years. But Sam was unable to make the call. And so I was feeling exceptionally frustrated, out of my league with my work. And, besides being a co-director of a center, we had a baby 4 years into my ministry. And Joseph was a powerful force in and of himself. Delightful and intense, and my biggest teacher ever. So, to say the least, I was overwhelmed. There was way too much going on. I did not feel supported. I knew intellectually that was not true, but I was not feeling it. And Chris, my other partner, said, "You know what your problem is, Cath?" Now, when someone says that, you're probably not going to like what they say. He says, "You don't have an up-close and personal relationship with God." And it hit me like a dagger to my heart. It just cracked me right open. I was totally taken off guard. When you hear the truth, it stops you in your tracks, dead in your tracks. You just can't ignore it. It was exactly what I needed to hear. It was difficult to take, but he was absolutely right on. I was doing all the right things, but not feeling my feelings. I had lost my passion, and I was doing a lot of things for the center that I didn't think I really signed up for. I thought that I didn't remember signing up for. I was definitely not feeling a connection with my innermost being. I was definitely not feeling a connection with the one life, our source, the universe. So what he said was true, but it was difficult. But it really needed to be said. It was a very healing moment for me. And it was a huge turning point. Now I knew what I needed to focus on. With all the other conditions going on and things taking place, I knew where I had to put my focus, and it made all the difference. Everything shifted and changed from that point forward. I felt empowered in the flow again, and that felt good. And my third story today is, I put off being a grandmother as long as I could. Now, I say that as if I really had a choice in the matter. You can't really tell your children when they can procreate. And it wasn't because I don't love children. I love children. It was just that my plate was that full. I just didn't know how I could do that, and we still had Joseph. He hadn't quite gone off to college yet. So I said, "God, just please wait till Joseph goes off to school." We got to get one big project off the list. So it came time for Joseph to go to school, which was a big shift, and John and I took a big sigh of relief. And then he came all the way across from Florida, across the country to Washington. So, we were all on the same page with that for a while. And do you know that it wasn't even 2 months after I got the call. We got the call. My daughter was having a baby. And then a few weeks later, we get a call that she's having 2. She's having twins. So I recognized that my plea was heard, and I guess it was time. So I traveled to Wisconsin to meet my new granddaughters, beautiful babies, pure bliss, spirit from the other side, fresh from the other side. And I was so nervous. I didn't know how to be a grandma. And I asked myself, this was the real question, was my heart big enough to embrace 2 more beautiful beings into our lives? Aubrey and Everly, our first grandchildren, twins. When you wait, you get compound interest. I always used to say that. I even have a section of that in my book, Compound Interest. When you wait, you get more. So 2. And did you know, just as an offside thing, did you know that babies' eyes, they only see images and shades? We all kind of heard that. And that learning to see is a process like learning to walk. It can sometimes take almost 2 years, 1 to 2 years, for them to be able to see like we see and interpret what they are seeing. We know there's a little time frame in there, but I've never heard 1 to 2 years before. And even getting their eyes to work together is a big feat to accomplish. That alone might explain why babies cry so much. Or, their nervous systems are changing. Their brains are growing tremendously. All of these things, there's so much to acclimate to when we come into this world. How could it not be overwhelming? How could it not? So I did my best with what I could in the way of reassuring and comforting. So I had Everly in my arms one day, and I told her how magnificent she was. I told her that everything was going to be okay. I told her, how her twin and her came in together, not one, but two, to love and support one another. How they must have come in to do great things, coming in as two. And how I would be there for them, for her, no matter what, even when I was gone from here. And then later on that day, I took Aubrey in my arms, who was crying unconsolably, and I walked into the kitchen, looking out at the snow in the backyard, and I told her the same thing. I told Aubrey how magnificent she was, how everything's going to be okay, how her and her twin, came in together, not one, but two, to love and support one another. How they must have come in to do great things, coming in together that way. And how I would always be there for her, no matter what, even when I was gone from here. About midway through saying that to Aubrey, I felt a presence around me. I felt like there was like a cloud closing in on me. It was like a blanket of love. And it was saying the words that I was saying to Aubrey, it was saying the words to me. And it was saying how magnificent you are. How everything's going to be okay. How you must have come here to do great things. How I will always be there for you. So, it was a very touching moment. I could have almost missed it. It was so subtle, but it was there. It was there. Why are so many of us frustrated with what we see and going on around us? It's because we have gone as far as we can go without a better understanding of love. We've gone as far as we can go without really understanding and knowing who we are as spiritual beings, without knowing and utilizing the real love that is available to us, that is here for us always in our partnership with the Divine One. We believe we're in this alone, and that is the farthest thing from the truth. It has never been our truth, and it never will be our truth. It's really the farthest thing. This is a gift that we have to give ourselves, the gift of an up-close and personal relationship with God, with Source, with life. And all we have to do is recognize that it's already there. It's already there. And as we do, the world as we know it transforms. It changes. It takes on a whole different color, flavor, because we have taken on this invincible partner who will never let us down. And it really doesn't get any better than that. And life really only begins when we do. So Ernest Holmes says, love is the sole impulse for creation, and the man who does not have love as the greatest incentive in his life has never developed the real creative instinct. No one can swing out in the universe without love, for the whole universe is based on it. So I would like to close with, and this is part of my treatment, to just accept this for yourself, and just as if your inner being was saying this to you. Accept it in a way that's meaningful to you. How magnificent you are. Everything will be okay. You must have come here to do great things. I will always be here for you, no matter what. You are so loved and supported. And just take a breath. And you can do this with yourself, acting as your higher self, speaking anytime. Make this real. Make this be a part of your everyday life. And so we are so grateful, so blessed for this beautiful morning, for this magnificent community and all of the individuals in it, and for the great impact that this community has on the ongoing life of the universe, on all those everywhere. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God. And please say together with me, and so it is. Thank you.